Hey, everybody, it's Bradley here tonight with you on the Dominator to lock down your winning lineups for week number 11. Unfortunately, Billy is not here tonight, but I'm here to bring you some of the best rankings and start sit content this side of the internet. If you guys find this content helpful, make sure you're smashing the subscribe button here on Player Profiler. We bring a lot of awesome shows throughout the week, so make sure you guys are subscribed every single day. Fantastic content is put out by a lot of our content creators, whether it is betting information, whether it is game recaps. Matt Kelly does an awesome waiver wire weekly show along with Theo Greminger's waiver wire targets. You've got First Class Fantasy that has fantastic guests and a myriad of other shows. Dear Miss Fantasy by Tara Roberts. Like, we've got awesome people here and a lot of podcast partners as well who are bringing you fantastic content. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, not only for the great content that we're putting out, but also because every Saturday at about 9 p.m. Eastern, myself and usually Billy, we bring you the start sits that are guaranteed to get you that winning lineup. This has been a great season so far. We really appreciate your support and the way you guys have been adding your comments, talking to us, building this community here in Player Profile has just been profound through the first now into 11 weeks. And then we also have a whole other set of content during the off season. So make sure you guys are also sticking with us for the rest of the offseason so that you can be prepared and win your league. You're not surprised. We bring you some awesome stuff. So without further ado, start answering some questions, because as you guys know, this is the start sit show in the business because we answer all of your questions. We answer as many as possible. And for me tonight, it's going to be lightning round so that we can get it in about a half an hour or so. All right. We'll begin with Flowosaurus. Hey guys, 1 PPR, 2 flex, White at San Francisco, Nico at home against Arizona, Lockett at the LA Rams. Thanks. Looking forward to the show. Hopefully get some wine rants. Unfortunately, I didn't bring a big bottle of wine for you, Flowosaurus. I know Billy usually provides the wine. He's working on a special surprise for you guys next week. A couple weeks ago, he shaved the beard. And then last week, he shows up with sunglasses. So I told him that he needs to have a shtick every time. So Billy's working on that right now for us. Of course, that's why he's out for tonight. But to get to your question, Flowosaurus, about the flex questions, we've got to pick 2, which means that we've got to sit one of White or Nico Collins or Tyler Lockett. I'm really in favor of this Tyler Lockett situation because the LA Rams, this is a team that can be beat in the secondary. Lockett is healthy now. This is a game where we could see a potential shootout. Matthew Stafford is back along with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. So we're looking at a rock solid game script for Lockett at the LA Rams. And Lockett's been surprisingly, pretty consistent this year. He's had a couple up and down games, but he's also produced some big spike weeks, even in games where we thought maybe he's not going to be able to do it for us. The over-under for this game is 46.5, and it's only Rams -2 for Tyler Lockett and company. So Lockett right now is my flex 53, wide receiver 25 for the week. Nico Collins, on the other hand, is a couple spots after him. So I do have Lockett ahead of Nico. And then Rachaad White, he's ahead of both of these in the flex rankings. I'm assuming so it's 1 PPR. We can shift that to full PPR, but it still should be the case that Rachaad White definitely a start in full PPR. We know what he earns as a running back out of the backfield. Like, it's always 4, 5, 6, 7 targets. And in a game where the spread for is in so much in favor of San Francisco, last I looked, it was -12 in favor of San Francisco at home. The Buccaneers are going to be leaning upon Rachaad White if they can't get the ball down the field to Mike Evans or Chris Godwin. And the way to beat San Francisco is in their secondary, which means that the offensive line for the Buccaneers has to hold up. If the offensive line is not holding up, that means Baker is going to have to dump off to Rachaad White. And we know Baker is capable. He is a capable dump offer. Okay. He's able to get the ball to his running backs. And we've seen that throughout the year for Rachaad White. So y'all should be putting Rachaad White. And I also have Tyler Lockett. So those two, you're sitting Nico of those two. All right, Joe, shout out to you, Joe Carlton. Gentlemen, I have my decision. I just want to make some input from both y'all. Start 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and a flex. Who am I leaving out? There's one that we have to leave out. Looks like there's 5 here and 6 starters. So are we starting Breece and Swift? Yes. Yes, we are. And Singletary, I have pretty high up in my rankings as well among running backs. Singletary is my running back 17 for this week. So like a mid-pack wide running back 2. Whereas when we look at the wide receivers, Mike Evans is my wide receiver 12 because, as I said, like all Evans needs are a couple big plays in the susceptibility of the 49ers secondary. That's their weak point. So all Baker needs is just a couple throws to get down to Mike Evans. And Mike Evans is having a heck of a year. Like shout out to him for a renaissance season after a couple of years of barely earning 20% target shares. Tom Brady looked like he wasn't able to get the ball down the field as consistently. You have to wonder if that had to do with arm strength. I mean, we saw that go away for Peyton Manning. We saw that go away for Tom Brady. But, DJ Moore is my wide receiver 24 for this week. I'm 2 below consensus. So definitely Evans. If I'm sitting one, it's DJ Moore in that first game back against the Detroit Lions. So if I have to sit any of those, that's who I'm sitting. All right, my top contender, 100-point cushion, first place, want upside max points. Yeah. I mean, the game against Detroit could be a shootout. However, we've also seen some real gross low floor games for DJ Moore. Give me the upside swings of Mike Evans. We just saw 30 carries in a competitive game for Devin Singletary and this Houston offense. And now Houston gets Arizona, which is extremely susceptible. So we're here for that. We want to be playing Devin Singletary. DeAndre Swift, of course, his talent is there, and he's getting the volume that we like. And Breece Hall, you're not talking me out of Breece Hall. So that's how we'll go from there. Sorry, Flow Source. I know I'm letting you down, but I hope you stick with me for the rest of the evening. Nikki Banks, shout out to you. Thanks for tuning in. If Madison is in, should we start Madison or Jaylen Warren? If he's out, should we go Chandler or Warren? So I project that Alexander Madison is going to miss this game. I would prepare for Madison to miss. He got in limited practices last I saw, and I don't have him ranked of any consequence right now. Ty Chandler is a top 25 running back for me. I have him slightly ahead of Jaylen Warren in the rankings. So if it comes down to Chandler or Warren, give me Ty Chandler against Denver defense that we've seen get gashed time and again on the ground. Tykavius Chandler is not a special talent. He does have a couple interesting metrics in his player profile, and you can check those out on PlayerProfiler.com. However, he's not shown high levels of efficiency in the small sample sizes that we've had of him at the NFL level, so we have to temper expectations. The reason why you're starting Ty Chandler is due to volume. We would expect that he would get 14 carries, 13 to 16, somewhere in that range, which can lead to goal line opportunities and touchdowns. I mean, Madison was inefficient on the ground anyways. You're really not getting a significant shift over with using the backup Ty Chandler if he is in. So I do have Chandler ahead of Jaylen Warren for this week, but it is close. It's almost a coin flip. Okay, and are we starting Tyler Lockett or James Cook at the flex? Yeah, so Cook right now is my flex 48 on the week, whereas Lockett is at 53. So James Cook just a little bit ahead of Tyler Lockett. There's a new offensive coordinator, right, for the Buffalo Bills, Joe Brady, after Ken Dorsey was fired from last week's debacle. You can have an opinion whether or not that was fair. However, there's ambiguity of what this Buffalo offense will now look like with Joe Brady, whether or not James Cook is going to be utilized more, or if there's going to be a scheme change, whether Leonard Fournette is going to be activated. We have a lot more questions. I do like Tyler Lockett and his matchup, but there's also high levels of efficiency that we've seen from James Cook. The upside swing for James Cook is massive. Let's say they do give him some more goal line carries because the Buffalo Bills' new offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, sees that Cook is really efficient. I mean, Cook had, for the second time this season, over 100 rushing yards. So I think that there is more of an upside swing with James Cook than Tyler Lockett, because not only do we have low floors with Tyler Lockett, we also have the emergence of Jackson Smith and Jigba. JSN has played more lately, and it's probably a good thing Billy is not on this podcast, because he would be like, put me on mute, put the sounder on, the wrong sounder, because he's so anti-JSN. But the reality is JSN has been utilized more over the last few weeks, and we can't ignore how that has impacted both DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett in limiting their ceilings. So Lockett does have a nice little floor, and I think that this game is a sneaky shootout for the Rams. And I understand the fear of James Cook and the Jets, but I do have Cook with his efficiency metrics higher than Tyler Lockett this week, even though they are pretty close in the rankings. Okay, full PPR. We got to sit one. So we'll change the settings to full PPR. Do we go with Cortland Sutton, Tyler Lockett, or Tank Dell? Sutton is my flex 49. Lockett, I said, was at 44. And Dell is at 25. So Sutton is the one you're sitting this week based on the rankings. So Tyler Lockett, Tank Dell are the two players in full PPR that you're playing. We have liked what Cortland Sutton has done this year. He's been a wide receiver 2, but buoyed by the touchdowns. And that was the one thing he was missing last year, was the touchdown equity. Now it's the pendulum has swung the other way, and it's only a matter of time before, the pendulum swings back and Cortland Sutton isn't scoring as many touchdowns. And you'll notice that in the games where Sutton scores a touchdown, significantly higher than the ones that he doesn't, because those are extra 6 points, and he doesn't make up for that in other in games where he doesn't catch that touchdown. So he's not a massive PPR volume play, which is why I think Lockett and Dell are the options. Noah Brown is expected to miss this game, so Tank Dell and Nico Collins are players that you're firing up for sure as you are moving forward. Okay. Singletary for sure over Ridley this week for the flex. Yeah, here's the thing. Zay Jones, I'm not expecting to play. I would be surprised if he is. Unfortunately, Zay Jones has been dealing with, the knee issue for a long time. That's kept him out. Plus, he's also dealt with the domestic battery issue that got him arrested. And so news of that is found on the Zay Jones player profile page. You can go to the news section for each of the players and check those out. Zay Jones has it up there. I don't anticipate that Zay Jones plays this week. I'm not sure if we've gotten an official ruling. However, Zay Jones is a difference maker in this Jaguars offense. If he is on the field, the defense has to play him honestly. Defenses are not playing Calvin Ridley honestly. Like Ridley is a target earner, but he's not an alpha. And so when he goes up against defenses, they're able to collapse on him, and he is talented, but not talented enough to. He's not Devontae Adams level, but he can win one-on-one. And so the problem is without Zay Jones in the lineup, Christian Kirk, does not play that same role as Calvin Ridley, and defenses play him differently than they would another respectable outside receiver. So there is a significant scheme shift that happens when Zay Jones is out on the field. And we have not seen that for some time, which is why we're getting frustrated with Calvin Ridley, because he doesn't have the same amount of opportunities because the scheme is different. And that's frustrating for us because we saw Zay Jones and Calvin Ridley play on the outside and Christian Kirk in the slot. And Ridley was able to crush in those games. So, yeah, it's Singletary for sure, not only because of our concerns about Calvin Ridley, but also because of the volume that the Houston Texans were willing to give Devin Singletary last week in a competitive game against the Cincinnati Bengals, and also because of Devin Singletary, what he was able to do from an efficiency metrics standpoint, 5 yards per carry against the Bengals. And third is the Arizona Cardinals matchup is a very positive one. So all of those reasons combined, and with our powers combined, Captain Planet, and the Captain Planet pick is Devin Singletary for you, Nino Pena. Hog Butchers, what's up? Shout out to you from YouTube. What's up, guys? PPR Flex, Rondell, Pickens, or Judy. Yeah, so Rondell right now, I know he's a flashy play. I know that he got a season high target share with Kyler Murray back in the lineup, but Rondell Moore, unfortunately, is a close to the line of scrimmage, yards after catch type of guy. He's not going to have a lot of boom plays. He will have the occasional long touchdown because he's got good speed, but he's very small and can't win on the outside. Like Tank Dell is small, but he can win on the outside. Rondell Moore is not Tank Dell. And so that's a problem for us. Rondell Moore, I have at flex 88. Pickens, I have at 83. And Judy, I have at 76. So if you're picking a guy from here, give me Jerry Judy. But those are like similar tier type of guys. All right, RV also asking about Rondell Moore here. But we've got Guyton, Rondell Moore, Christian Watson, and Reed. Guyton is 114 overall. I mentioned that Moore is 88. So you're starting Rondell Moore over Guyton. Watson at 78. So you're starting Watson over Rondell Moore. And then Jaden Reed at 89. So I have at Watson, Rondell Moore, and then right next to him, Jaden Reed. And then last, Jalen Guyton. Guyton is like desperation flex. I need someone with a pulse that might be able to come down with a touchdown. But we do not have a high expectation for Jalen Guyton. He's not stepping into a handcuff wide receiver role. He runs a lot of wind sprints, right? That's what he was known for in previous years, is running useless routes. Like they're not going to generate fantasy points. And so Jalen Guyton is the least of these, my brethren. Okay. DK or Tank Dell. As I said, Tank Dell is my 25th flex, whereas Metcalf is 30th. So give me Tank Dell over DK Metcalf this week. Jelly of the Month is saying, okay, let's shift it to half PPR. Okay, in a half PPR, we want to find Monty, Puka, Achane, or Barkley. Barkley, I have at 27 in the flex rankings. Achane, I have at 22. So Achane over Barkley this week. Puka at 34. And Montgomery at 24. So Achane, Montgomery, Barkley, and then Puka Nacua. You're sitting Puka Nacua half PPR among these. All right. Tommy Taquito, shout out to you from YouTube, full PPR. Connor or Hendo. We're starting James Conner. There's concerns of whether or not Darrell Henderson is going to be the lead back. Remember, there were 2 games where Henderson was the lead back and one where it was Royce Freeman, and Freeman was actually more efficient. Darrell Henderson didn't exceed 4 yards a carry in any game. At least Royce Freeman showed us some efficiency metrics, even if he didn't fall into the end zone. So with the uncertainty of workload and for Henderson and the certainty of volume that we're going to get in what we hope to be a pretty nice shootout game in Houston as the Cardinals travel to the Houston Texans, the over-under for this game is 48. It's 48, whereas the Rams game against the Seahawks, 46.5. But give me Connor in what is a bigger shootout game in a role that I expect to have more volume. All right. A little more difficult one. Are we going to go with Najee Harris or Darrell Henderson? I do have Henderson over Harris in the PPR rankings. Harris was demoted. I don't know if y'all heard this, but Jaylen Warren last week was announced as the starter, and they split snaps pretty evenly. The over-under for this Pittsburgh-Cleveland game is 33 points. That's almost 10 points fewer than the Rams-Seahawks game. In fact, it's even more. It's like 13.5 fewer implied game total points. We want the game that's going to be projected more as a shootout, given that both situations seem like a pretty split backfield. So while Najee Harris has fallen into the end zone as of late, give me Darrell Henderson. Would we rather have Rachaad White or Breece Hall rest of season? Look, as much as we love Breece Hall, or as much as we love Rachaad White, and as much as Rachaad White has outperformed in the receiving game, Breece Hall has the efficiency metrics that we want from your mid-pack running back ones. Now, the problem with Rachaad White is that he doesn't get a lot of the goal line work. He has a couple touchdowns on the season, and he's also really inefficient when he runs the ball. He might get 15 carries, but only for 45, 50 yards. That's what you can expect for Rachaad White. But he can have 4, 5, 6, 7 targets in a game and turn that into 30 to 60 receiving yards, which makes up for it. However, Breece Hall, given a lot more work, obviously Michael Carter is gone. Dalvin Cook, I expect to fade away as well. And Izzy Abanikanda to step up as the running back too. I think it's very clear now that Breece Hall has that workload to himself. And that's the thing that Rachaad White and Breece Hall have in common is they have the roles that we want for RB1s, but the talent for Breece Hall is just so much higher than Rachaad White, even if you're maybe frustrated from time to time with the Jets offense overall. The Jets, remember, this week are taking on the Buffalo Bills. The over-under for this game is 39. But it's okay. You're still starting Breece Hall rest of season almost every week over Rachaad White. Keenan and Dell are my top 2 wide receivers. Great, Joe. Those are locked in. I agree with you there. McBride or Kincaid, half PPR. Yeah, let's pull up the tight end rankings. I've been crushing it on tight ends this year. I'm 16th or 18th or whatever it is in the Fantasy Pros Accuracy Rankings contest for the year out of over 200 rankers. So I have McBride at tight end 6 for this week. Kincaid, I have at tight end 5. It is a coin flip. The consensus has them flipped. So give me Kincaid over Trey McBride. Especially if you think, okay, Gabe Davis is going to get shut down in this game. And maybe Stephon Diggs is dealing with some issues. The secondary for the New York Jets is always very difficult. They've got 3 highly rated cornerbacks. Give me some Dalton Kincaid, who may find room in the middle of the field, in the red zone, We've seen the touchdowns from Kincaid, and if the ball is going to move, hopefully it moves through James Cook and Dalton Kincaid. And so I have Kincaid at tight end 5 for this week. Sean is asking, is Lockett healthy? Carroll suggested Lockett's truly questionable, not practiced for 3 days, did some running, not sounding great. We can certainly monitor the Lockett situation. Let me pull up the Lockett news and see if we've... Yeah, he's listed as questionable. He was limited on practice, sideline Wednesday and Thursday. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is a Schefter bomb, right? So if he does not go, if Lockett is out, JSN steps into a top 36 role. I mean, JSN has already been pretty consistently a back-end wide receiver 3 over the last 4 weeks or so. And I think that just means a little bit more for JSN, a little bit more for your DK Metcalf, just a sprinkling more. And then maybe Noah Fant finally hits. Like I've been hoping and praying for Noah Fant, just like some of our other late round tight end drafters from this year. So yes, I agree with you, Sean. This is something worth monitoring. Agree with you about Tyler Lockett. Any concerns for Pacheco? I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was inactive the last game that we saw him. I have Pacheco at my running back 21. I mean, you're starting him over Ty Chandler. You're starting him over Jalen Warren, Chuba Hubbard. You're starting him over Donta Foreman. You're starting him over Royce Freeman, Kareem Hunt. Like those are like you're starting him over those type of players. But you're not starting him over a Brian Robinson. You're not starting him over a David Montgomery or a Devon Achane. Okay. So I think that's the right spot for Pacheco for right now. Even if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is active, even if Pacheco is still about a back end running back 2 for the week. All right, guys, this has been great. I'm going to answer a few more questions, but before I do, a word from our friends at Bet Openly.
Hey, so many ask me, what's wrong with sportsbooks? Why so many of them fail? The answer is simple. They don't innovate. They're just casino sportsbooks on a phone. That's all they've been. There are a few that are doing a good job. We partner with them. Most of them, not so much. Until Bet Openly came along. Bet Openly said, hey, we're going to innovate. We're going to do something groundbreaking. We're going to have peer-to-peer betting in all states, and you pay 1%. When you win, you pay just 1% on your winnings. You heard that right. It's 1%. With code Underworld, you qualify for just that 1% transaction fee on Bet Openly. It gives you ultimate flexibility to set your own lines and browse lines that others have set. Think about it. That's what betting should be, and now that is the reality. BetOpenly.com. The code is Underworld. Check it out.
That's right. Check out our friends at Bet Openly. Paying 1%. What a deal. What a deal. Joe says, thanks, Bradley. Appreciate you, Joe. Shout out to Jose. Appreciate you as well. Laporta or McBride, full PPR. We got to get the tight end rankings out here. Full PPR for the tight ends. Laporta, I have it 4. McBride, I have it 6 in the full PPR. So you're starting Laporta. Mr. Nice Guy, I need a win to guarantee and make the playoffs. Would you start Rashad or Jerome Ford in the half PPR streets? Yeah, so pulling up the rankings, we've got Rashad White at 22 and Jerome Ford at 24. That's how I have them ranked for this week. I think the argument for Rashad White, as I mentioned, is the pass catching. And even in the half PPR, the amount of volume in the receiving game that Rashad White can have, both, even if he gets 4 catches, that's 2 extra points, plus the amount of receiving work that he gets. Jerome Ford, on the other hand, does get a tough Pittsburgh front 7. And if we look at the game logs for Jerome Ford, very hit or miss, right? When we talk about the targets, he's had 2, 4, 2, 7, 1 target, despite getting a lot of the volume rushing wise. So we're not guaranteed that he's going to be the one to be getting, looks out of the backfield, especially from DTR at quarterback now. It's not, your Jacoby Brissett's from last year. It's not Josh Dobbs. It's not PJ Walker, right? It's DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the rookie. So we are not confident in the offense overall for Jerome Ford. I know that we may have our concerns about San Francisco, but if the spread is what it is against the Buccaneers, we anticipate the Buccaneers losing by more than a touchdown, then Rachaad White is going to be heavily involved in trying to catch back up if that is the case. So give me Rachaad White over Jerome Ford. Red, Rizzle, 14 team, 2 running backs, 1 flex. Cook, Singletary, Gibbs, Puka. We're definitely starting Jahmyr Gibbs this week in full PPR, absolutely. Puka Nacua I have at wide receiver 15. Singletary is there. I think the one that we sit is James Cook. So I think we sit James Cook of these 4. Hopefully that helps. Red Rizzle. Can I start Kmet over Schultz? You can do whatever you want, Nikki. Like, well, I'm not going to tell you, that you absolutely need to start a particular player, but you can do whatever you want. But I have, Kmet at 12, and I have Dalton Schultz at 9, and Schultz's consensus is at 7. So I'm low on Schultz relative to the consensus, and I still have Schultz over Kmet for the week. So give me Dalton Schultz. He's been getting a solid target share, even with Bob Woods back and with Nico Collins back. I still expect Dalton Schultz to be an important part of this red zone offense between the 20s offense. CJ Stroud has been improving his connections with Dalton Schultz. That's been evident over the past few weeks, where Dalton Schultz has mostly been in that easily top 8 or so tight end 1 conversation. So give me Schultz over Kmet. I do like Kmet as if you're needing to stream someone, if you need someone to step in for, Dallas Goedert. I think that Cole Kmet is a solid, plug in if you lost Goddard, or, moving forward, if you have lost Andrews and you need someone to step in for your tight end spot. I think Cole Kmet is going to consistently be like tight end 15 or better. You can do worse than Cole Kmet. Howdy, Eminent Junkie. I just got offered Pollard and Ayuk for my Kamara. The guy read my mind, except asked only Kamara. I was considering sending Cook too. I want to do it. I mean, it depends on what the rest of your team looks like, but I like Brandon Ayuk. He has the second best yards per route run over the past few weeks. That's been real, he's been playing very well. And Pollard, I think, is due for a bounce back. And maybe I'm the idiot. Maybe I'm the one who's too stupid to quit on Tony Pollard. But we've seen Pollard get all of these opportunities. He's top 5 in the NFL among running backs in red zone carries. But he only has 2 touchdowns on the season. He is due. The running backs who are around him, who are in the same tier for red zone carries, have more like 5, 6, 7 touchdowns to Tony Pollard's 2. He is due, and he's got some juicy matchups the rest of the season. So I like Pollard as a buy low. You wouldn't be able to do this earlier in the season, but I like Ayuk to bolster your flex wide receiver 2 spot, and I think that Pollard is a nice little buy low. That's how I'd handle it. Godwin or Addison, full PPR. Yeah, let's pull up the wide receiver. Y'all are like really hammering the full PPR rankings. Usually I answer in half PPR, but Godwin is at 29 for me this week. Addison is at 34. So Godwin over Addison. And I know that Justin Jefferson is out in this game, but I think Minnesota, they're still trying to figure out how they want to attack teams with now Josh Dobbs at the helm. And I think the answer is going to be TJ Hawkinson. TJ Hawkinson, the tight end for the Minnesota Vikings, fits the role that Dobbs previously was targeting very heavily. And that was, remember, Zach Ertz was getting a ton of targets in Arizona before he ended up on IR. And now Trey McBride, of course, was earning targets too until Dobbs was shipped out to Minnesota. But I think the lead target earner on this team is going to continue to be TJ Hawkinson while Justin Jefferson is out. So Addison, I think we can bump up a little bit, but enough to get into Chris Godwin. I'm not confident about that. So I'm still going Godwin over Addison. Lockett's hamstring doesn't scare you. Well, we're going to monitor this situation. Pete Carroll is he's always positive, and sometimes that's hard to discern his positivity, because when he's negative, he might also be lying to us, just like the Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet. Remember that in the preseason, a couple weeks before the start of the year, both Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker were dealing with injuries, and they were ambiguous timelines, and we were so worried that both players were going to miss a lot of time, and they ended up missing almost nothing. So we're going to monitor this. We're going to play this level head, allow cooler heads to prevail, and we'll just monitor and see if we get more clarity moving forward. I'm not panicking right now, but we know what the contingencies are, and that's a little bit more of JSN and DK Metcalf moving forward if Tyler Lockett misses. Charles Dunda, Ty Chandler, Nico, or McBride in, what is this, PPR? Yeah, let's look. Sometimes it's an interesting wrinkle when we put in multi-positional players like Chandler. So Chandler, I have at, I click tight end instead of flex. Chandler is at flex 66 for me. Nico Collins is at 45, and McBride is at 59. So we're going to go with Nico Collins here of the full PPR flex play. Would I start Brandon Cooks over Ridley? I don't think so. We are tantalized by Brandon Cook's previous game where he went absolutely ham. It was about time that we had a big Brandon Cooks game. I was drafting a lot of him in round 9, hoping that he would hit a little bit more, but Brandon Cooks is not, as much as we're frustrated by Calvin Ridley, we've been more frustrated by Brandon Cooks. Still give me Calvin Ridley this week over Brandon Cooks. Dalton says, hey, fellas, there's no universe that I start K1 over Dak, right? Yeah, Dak has been the hottest quarterback as of late, not, in terms of sexiest man alive, but Dak, I have at 5 for this week. Kyler Murray, I have at 13 this week. The consensus for Dak is at 6. Murray is at 10. So I'm a little bit higher on Dak and a little bit lower on Murray this week, but it's okay. Look, you can do whatever you would like. There are universes. I'm sure there are variants of you, Dalton, where K1 starts over Dak. And there are universes where Kyler Murray is going to outperform Dak Prescott. And maybe tomorrow is going to be the case. But that's not how I have it ranked. And I don't think that's as good a probability, given that James Cook is probably going to have, or James Conner, is going to probably have his way with the Houston Texans. They're going to lean pretty heavily on him in this game. So give me some James Conner as a lowering of the ceiling for Kyler Murray, even though this game, we like this game. But the Dallas-Carolina game could also get out of hand pretty nicely in favor of Dak. And that's why I have CeeDee Lamb ranked as a, do I have him? I have CeeDee Lamb at wide receiver 2 for this week. Good evening. Should I start Mostert or Swift? You're starting Swift. Achane is expected back. And while Mostert has played very well this season, Swift has been better when there's been splits, with Mostert and Achane. I expect Achane to get some touches, get him back in the groove, goal line work. Mostert has also struggled with fumbles, and I wonder if he's on a short leash regarding those. So we also have the issue on the So there's a couple game script things that could go wrong for Mostert. The Miami Dolphins are expected to blow out the Raiders, right? And so that may mean more Salvin Ahmed. That may mean more Jeff Wilson. That may mean a lowering of the ceiling for Devon Achane. DeAndre Swift, though, this game script could be wild. It's Philly versus Kansas City. Yeah, and Swift could be very much involved. I like DeAndre Swift over Mostert this week. Would you trade Hollywood to get Ramondre Stevenson? It just depends. I think that that's a fair enough trade. I like Ramondre as a running back too. That's how I'd have it. So if I can get Ramondre, great. But I understand either side. Just depends on what you need. But I lean Ramondre. What about Puka versus Rice? Yeah, we're starting Puka Nacua over Rashee Rice, even though Rice is the number one receiver on the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs just so evenly distribute the ball that even for the highest wide receiver target earner like Rashee Rice, it's not an exciting prospect upside-wise. Fields or Love? Man, oh man. People love this week. And I don't. Like people, I get it. That Jordan Love has had, 5 top 12 weeks so far, but his wide receivers have fallen into the end zone on lucky or fluke plays a lot. Jordan Love is one of the worst efficiency metric quarterbacks in the NFL. We don't like it. I'd rather put myself in a situation with Justin Fields where the game could be a nice little shootout, Chicago at Detroit, where Fields is going to try to catch up and get the ball to Darnell Mooney and DJ Moore. And I think that leads more to a shootout potential, whereas Jordan Love, I don't know if his team, I don't know if he's capable of keeping up with the Chargers offense, even without Mike Williams and even without Josh Palmer and a questionable Keenan Allen. Austin Eckler is still a weapon there. Gerald Everett is also out for this game. So if you need a desperation tight end, Donald Parham is in consideration there. Yeah, I have Fields over Love. Love is my quarterback 20 on the week. Justin Fields is quarterback 14. All right, Kyle Phillips or Jalen Guyton with a injured emoji. Yeah, so Guyton right now I have at 60. Phillips is at right after him in full PPR at 61. So it's a coin flip. Is a coin flip. And I think that there's touchdown equity to be had with Jalen Guyton now that Everett and Palmer and Mike Williams are all out. Jalen Guyton, I think, is the play here. All right, we got to sit one from Breece Hall, Javonte Williams, Mostert, or Ty Chandler. We're starting Breece Hall for sure. And we're starting Javonte Williams for sure. The question is, are we going to go with Mostert, who I have at 21, or are we going to go with Ty Chandler, who I have at 26? And the answer is Mostert. The consensus for Mostert is running back 16. So I am lower, significantly lower on Mostert compared to the industry consensus. But I still have him ahead of Ty Chandler. So still, I think that there's going to be enough work for Mostert to pay off mid to back end running back 2. But Chandler is a borderline running back 2, maybe running back 3. I know he'll get the volume, but remember the volume on Minnesota is not going to be as good. And Chandler is not an efficient back. I've hit on this before. So not a big fan of Chandler. Whew. Okay. We are almost there. I'm going to try to go a little bit fast. We've got more questions here that are coming in. Whew, this is going to be a long one, I have a feeling. But Mostert, Montgomery, or Gibbs and Montgomery. You're starting both Detroit Lions running backs. Kyler or Howell. I have a Howell higher this week. Swift or Singletary, and then Dell or Nacua. Yeah, so in is this is full PPR. Y'all are really popular full PPR right now. Singletary, I have at 15. Swift, I have at 10 in full PPR. So we're starting Swift, and then Dell, I have at 14, and Nakua, I have at 15. So it's a coin flip, but Dell slightly ahead of Nakua. James Conner or Amari Cooper? We're going with James Conner here. We do have concerns about Amari Cooper paying off with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. We need to see it from DTR first before we can have confidence of putting any of the Cleveland offense in your starting lineups. They may not be able to get in the end zone or red zone very much. So that's why we're concerned. Even if Amari Cooper does get 8 targets, how many is he going to catch? 3, 4, 5? He's going to turn that into 60 yards. Are you happy with 4 for 60 for Amari Cooper? Or are you going to be happy with James Conner rushing the ball 16 times for 80 yards and then with a much higher chance of a touchdown in a game we expect to be a shootout? Remember, the Arizona-Houston game is an over-under of, I wanted to say 46, but it's probably closer to, it's 48. Arizona-Houston is over-under 48. Whereas the Cleveland Browns-Pittsburgh game is 33. We want the lead back in a shootout potential game. Give me James Conner. Okay, Arjun already clinched the playoffs. Should I trade Chase and Ayuk for Bijan and Smith, or Chase for Bijan? I'm worried about Chase in the playoffs. You should be worried about Chase in the playoffs. Jamar Chase only had a couple catches in this past week's game, had a touchdown, but only 12 yards. We are not confident about Jake Browning. Real talk. Jamar Chase, massive downgrade. T. Higgins, massive downgrade. Multi-tier downgrades for these wide receivers with Jake Browning at helm. Now, maybe there's a veteran quarterback that will get released and signed by the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know. But what I do know is that if you can get, Bijan Robinson for Jamar Chase at this point, I mean, we're operating with the knowledge we have now. And while Chase, I would have, I would have Chase talent-wise over Bijan, and his usage before the Burrow injury I had over Bijan. But at this point, if you need, extra running back help, Bijan is your answer. And I do like Devonta Smith as well, given the Goddard injury. We know what Devonta Smith does when Dallas Goedert is out. It shouldn't surprise us. He becomes, that 1B in the offense very clearly. The target share becomes consolidated with both Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. So I think if you can get Bijan and Smith for Chase and Ayuk, I'm okay with that. Okay, Ford or Rashad in my flex. Yeah, we're going with Rashad White here. Thank you. Yeah, shout out to you guys for sticking around with me. Appreciate y'all doing all of this. If you like the content and you haven't already subscribed, smash the red subscribe button here on the Player Profiler channel. Billy and I usually do these every Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Billy's not here tonight. He's working on his shtick. A couple weeks ago, as I said, he trimmed his beard. Last week, he had the glasses. Now he's working on something else for y'all. So it's me tonight. And I'm really happy that I'm answering all your questions. We've got some awesome people jumping in the chat, asking great questions. And now we've got to ask a tough one. And this is Goff or Herbert in 4-point passing touchdowns. I have Herbert at 9. I have Goff at 10. My worry with Goff is that the Detroit Lions are just going to run the ball down the Chicago Bears' throats, and Goff may be just limited to 1 or 2 touchdowns, whereas Herbert, that game can probably be put away pretty easily against Green Bay. Green Bay is not very good, and if Green Bay is good, Herbert's going to have a really great game. So I think that I have Herbert higher than Goff because I have a fear of Goff's floor a little bit more than Herbert's. That's how I lean for tomorrow. Myers or Ridley? Yeah, this is a tough one because Jacoby Myers has really disappointed as of late, and we noticed that the scheme is a little bit different. Right now, Jacoby Myers is my wide receiver 35, whereas Calvin Ridley is wide receiver 26 in full PPR scoring. So give me Calvin Ridley over Jacoby Myers, given the recent struggles and the shift change of Jacoby Myers and the Las Vegas Raiders. Should we start Singletary or Kenneth Walker? This one is also very close. I have Walker at 12 this week. I have Singletary at 15. I understand they're pretty close, but give me Kenneth Walker in a matchup against the LA Rams. Okay. And if we remember from week number 1, Kenneth Walker, 12 for 64, 5 targets, 4 receptions against the LA Rams in week number 1. Singletary probably will get the volume in a nice little shootout game, but I also expect, a little bit better game for the Seahawks here in round number 2. Michael Wilson. Buy him now while he's cheap. I like that. Dwayne McBride, Uncle Ted. Uncle Ted, you have met one of the few Dwayne McBride truthers. He was a beast last year in college. I am a huge Dwayne McBride fan. Shout out to you for Dwayne McBride. As those who followed me this offseason know, I say Dwayne McBride no matter what. Are we going with Ferguson at the tight end spot for Dallas, or are we going with McBride? I have McBride at tight end 6 in full PPR. I have Jake Ferguson at 11. You're starting McBride. That's Trey McBride. All right, Laporta or Achane, half-point PPR, tight end premium. Wow, this is pretty wild. The best I can do for you in full PPR is this. Achane, I have at 36th overall. Laporta, I have at 51. You're starting Achane this week. Okay, Ford, Najee, or Swift. We're going to go with Swift. That was pretty easy. Swift all day, baby. That's right. Achane, White, or Connor, sit 1. That's a tough one between Rashad White and Connor. Connor, I have at 52nd in my flex rankings. White, I have at 47. So we're going to sit Connor in full PPR. Okay. You have to understand, Achane still leads all NFL running backs in yards per carry at over 12. Like, he does not need 50% of snaps to be top 5 running back on the week. This game can get very much out of hand very quickly. And Achane, you have to think he's looking like one of the best players in practice right now. And that's what the reports were as the reason why he was being activated off of the IR. I also think, I don't think his knee injury was as serious as necessarily required the IR, but I think that the team wanted to play it conservatively and just make sure that his knee was okay, because we didn't get a lot of details initially about Devon Achane's knee injury. It was just that he had a knee injury and that he's going to have to spend time on the IR. So I wonder if there was just, well, we're going to save him. We're not going to push it. He's a rookie. And remember, he hadn't exceeded more than about 55% of snaps, even when he had 3 straight weeks of being a top 5 running back. So he does not need, Devon Achane does not need the majority work share to be an elite option for you. Let's not get carried away here. Okay. I got to put a wrap on this, put a bow on it here. I'm going to answer just a couple more. I appreciate all of you tuning in. It's been a lot of fun. Make sure you guys are smashing the subscribe button. I do this every Saturday, and Billy usually joins me as well. This is a lot of fun with, when you can do fantasy with friends, it's great. So tonight, y'all are my friends, and we're spending a great time answering some questions, going through rankings, sorting it out. Gooner Boy always showing up to pick 2, Puka, DJ Moore, Connor, Jerome Ford, full PPR. We're starting Puka. And I think I have Ford at 68, Connor at 52, and DJ Moore at 50. So we're starting Moore and Puka in full PPR. Freiermuth or Mayer, we're starting Freiermuth even right off the IR. Concerns are that even though Mayer has been earning more targets and got a nice touchdown, that it's still not anywhere close to that tier of Laporta or Kincaid that we're confident placing him in the lineup. Freiermuth at least can get some targets right off the bat. I know that Deontay Johnson is back and George Pickens earns his, but I think that this may eat into Jaylen Warren a little bit, which is why I'm not super bullish on Jaylen Warren, and also eats a little bit into Najee as well. I think both are outside my top 24 of running backs, Najee and Jaylen Warren for this week. All right, Trev says sit one, Pollard or Singletary, Monty or HN. Got to start HN if he plays, right? Yup, for sure. So HN you're starting. Singletary you're starting. Pollard you're starting. I think you sit Monty. Those are tough ones, tough calls to make though. Half PPR, Barkley, Henry, White, Mostert. We are sitting Mostert this week. Yeah, Flowsource said he could have been a knee brace and played the entire time, but they were in a good spot to not take it off. McDaniel for sure. There we go. All right, I think we're all set for the night. Y'all been a great audience. Y'all been great. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. You guys are what make this show and the entire Player Profiler experience exceptional. So keep it up. Keep showing up, showing out to our shows. We've got a lot of awesome content. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Lots of fun. Every Saturday, we get you the best start sit show in the industry. Some of the best advice. Until next time, everyone, good luck with your Week 11 start sit decisions.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.